you never heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
All right, welcome back to Common Folk.
Yes.
We're live again today, if you can't hear it in the background.
Yeah, we are.
This is fun. This has been fun, taking the show on the road, meeting new and more people.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I think this guy, Vaughn, is always involved.
Against our better judgment, we decided to listen to what Vaughn had to say and come out. And that's right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cracking them. So, Vaughn, and explain to us, but I'm just going to introduce this real quick, as part of the Nebraska Sustainable Ag Society. And that organization, along with the University of Nebraska, is putting on this conference we're at. It's called the Local Food and Healthy Farms Conference.
Correct.
So tell us just real quick about that society and what you got going on there.
Well, essentially, we're about soil health is the bottom line.
Yeah.
And organics and soil health is what this group is about, and sustainability. And it's so important in the quality of food that we're growing and consuming. And it's just, again, bottom line is soil health and organics.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
So for folks who listen to the podcast, over the last few weeks, we had an interview with Vaughn, so folks got to know who he is, and then also spoke with Vaughn about Nebraska Vegetable and Protein, which is in that arena as well, with this whole sustainability thing and the aquaponics and that.
Yeah, but that the odd thing is it's not considered organic, or never will be, because it's not soil based.
Yeah.
So
and some of the folks here are doing things in a certified organic manner. Some aren't.
Correct.
They're still following the guidelines, but aren't maybe necessarily classified that way. Those kinds of things.
Or using as many of the guidelines that work into their production system.
Yeah.
So the whole deal about there's really no strong organizations within the state that supports specialty crops, and this is one of them. So we're very inclusive, and I'm speaking today on apple production. Where else is that being spoke about in this neck of the woods? It's not. And some of the different things that are being spoke about has applications in the real world overall, whether you're organic or not organic.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is everybody's trying to grow things the best way they can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think there's probably, from the outside looking in, you look at, okay, there's a sustainability conference going on, and they're going to talk about organic, and they just think they do everything better, and there's going to be this whole thing that goes on with people's thoughts. But when you really get down to it, we talked about it in the last episode when we were with you, it's not, there's not any one way to do this.
Correct.
You take all these things that you learn and you bring them into your operation, and there's certain pieces that you apply. Some work for you, some don't.
And if you're lucky enough in some ways, or strong enough in other ways, to actually become organic certified and go down that line, that is totally awesome. That's the dream. The overall dream.
You also can't put it in a box. How you mentioned that there's a mental image, and I'm thinking of somebody that has blue and purple hair, crazy clothes.
Yep.
And I'm looking around this conference, and it's packed. There's all sorts of people here, but they look like common folk. These look like the Nebraska farmers.
Common folk.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes. So,
That's right.
So
and a lot of these people have just a few acres.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not just a young group or an older group. This is everybody.
That's right. And that's one of the things that we've really struggled with over the years is, I'll say this wrong, inclusivity.
Okay,
there's so many different ag producers in this state, even more and more so as our immigrants have coming to the state and bringing their techniques and urban farming and women getting into farming. It's huge. It's huge. And we're trying to encompass all of that. So
I can't wait to get into some of these interviews.
Yeah.
Because there's some, you mentioned a mushroom guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Really cool stuff, huh?
Yeah.
And, just there's some really interesting projects that are out there that people just don't even realize is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and you guys are just breaking the surface
Just
of what that is.
scratching it,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with you, and again, like we talk about all the time. I mean, this is what we do. We're talking to common folk that are doing extraordinary things. Vaughn has some great interviews lined up for us today. We've been learning a lot here so far. I think folks are really going to dig this. We're probably going to have to split it into a couple episodes because there's a lot of content here. But the idea is a number of 10 to 15, maybe 20 at the most minute interviews, and digging into a bunch of things. Like you said, mushrooms, organic
Chickens.
growing,
There's
chickens,
a chicken lady or something.
quail, eggs.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
An organization that you're a part of that helps bring direct to consumer. All this kind of stuff that's going on out there. It's super interesting.
And local foods.
Local
Absolutely.
foods.
That's the bottom line.
Yep.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. Well,
Thanks for bringing us here.
Absolutely.
100%.
Thanks for agreeing to come.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's great. Is there any? Would it be good to tell anybody where they can find more information about Nebraska Sustainable Ag Society?
Just Google Nebraska Sustainable Agricultural Society. We have a website, and there's a lot of information. Please join.
Right.
Please follow us. It's a organization that's been around for a long, long time, and we've continued to strive to produce nutrient-rich, healthy food for our citizens, our neighbors, our friends.
Great.
Good stuff. Well, let's get into the interviews.
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's see what all the buzz is about.
Have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Vaughn.
Bye.
All right.
See you guys.
All right. We're here with Luke Norris. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what is your role there?
So I am the apiary manager at UNLB Lab, and so I do beekeeping for the university.
Okay.
We do both research and extension, and so we do research on beekeeping, just management or other aspects of beekeeping, and then we also do beekeeping workshops to the public.
Cool.
And so, and then we're actually in the process now of getting our dates finalized for this upcoming year for our beekeeping workshops, and we hold those in the spring.
Nice. Beekeeping, I feel like I've heard so much more and more about it over the last couple of years, and then you always hear all this stuff about, like, if the bees go away, we're toast, and it's like a really hot topic, and I keep seeing all these local growers things popping up. We even just within the last, so we're south of Plattsmouth, down in Cass County. Within the last year, there was a group over there raising bees, and we got some honey from them this year. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you hear about all the different benefits from it and so on and so forth. Is that real?
Yeah. The bees do produce about a third of the produce of the foods that we eat, so they are a big part of the food
Sure,
system.
absolutely, yeah.
So
Yeah.
the bee movie, that was pretty legit.
A lot of it's really inaccurate.
Oh,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
Dang it.
And so
Dang it. I
one
just
of
had
the,
to ask.
One of the big problems that we have with the bee movie is first of all, they have the people starring in it,
Jerry Seinfeld.
yeah,
Yes.
and so they're playing the roles of the worker, but in actuality, the workers would just be female, and then they kind of miss that, and then they also miss the bee smoker doesn't actually hurt the bees. What it does is actually the bees will instinctively think that there's a fire, and so they'll gorge themselves on honey and then just kind of wait and hang out thinking that they might have to leave because there is a fire. And so it's a way for us to calm them down, but it doesn't actually hurt the bees. But we feel like the bee movie kind of expresses it as
did. They kind of made it sound like it kind of hurt them, but kind of didn't. Like, I felt like there was an in-between in that movie.
They kind of demonized
danced around
the
it.
keepers a little bit.
Yeah, totally. So I didn't know just the bees were the women workers. I didn't know that.
A couple hot button topics right there.
Ooh, I know.
They misgendered the bees, and then they actually villainized the keepers. And we talk about it with farmers and ranchers. Nobody cares more about those cattle
Right. Yeah.
or their crop, the land, more than the farmer or the rancher. And it's the same. You're seeing the same type of thing here with the beekeepers.
Yes. Yeah.
So you talk about these workshops. Is that something where it's really grown for the University of Nebraska, where you're doing more workshops? There's more interest in beekeeping. Where is that front at? Is it like I didn't even know that was a a thing, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that our beekeeping workshops have grown, but then we've also additionally, my coworker Sheldon Brummel, he's developed a program called Great Plains Master Beekeeping, and it's actually Midwest focused, but it's not specific to Nebraska. We have neighboring states that are involved with it, and with that program, it's a free membership, and so you can go to our website, gpmb.unl.edu, and that stands for Great Plains Master Beekeeping.
Okay.
But again, it's a free membership, and then once you sign up, there's free online learning modules that go over hive health inspections, overwintering, varroa management, and then we're adding more content. And then this program, Great Plains Master Beekeeping, it's actually modeled similar to like the Master Gardener, and so you can advance then to a journeyman and then a master. And then some other benefits or things that we have going on with this program is once the beekeeping season starts in April, once a month, the second Thursday of the month, and I think the time's from 6 to 7 p.m., but we have an open apiary on East Campus to where people can come out to the bee yard and work with us in the beehives and get hands-on experience and ask questions. And if you're a member, it's actually free. Otherwise, it's just $10, which I feel is still accessible.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, totally.
And then we've also came up with it's called a happy hour, where the second Friday of the month from 5:30 to 7, we have an online Zoom Q&A on beekeeping, and then we've been having guest speakers come on and speak on different topics.
Okay.
And so we've been adding things to just offer more things to the public.
That's cool.
I
We'll
like
put
that.
a link to that website in the show notes so folks can find it if they want to afterwards. Here at the conference, what's kind of your guys' goal for being here?
So I was asked to just do a presentation on beekeeping basics, and so I did a exploratory presentation on just kind of if people are interested in beekeeping, just about that, what the costs are, what to expect, and just some resources to get started if they're interested in it. Now, we do encourage people, you don't necessarily have to have a beehive to help the bees.
Okay.
The best thing you can really do is, plant forage, so more pollinator plants to provide food for the bees. We do tell people to take a class before they actually get a beehive and learn the management skills.
Makes sense.
Because we want you to keep your bees as live.
Do it right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and a lot of people who don't have experience will run into problems just because they're jumping into it.
How long have you been involved in beekeeping?
So I started doing beekeeping as a hobby in 2016, and then I was brought onto the bee lab part-time because they were looking for part-time help in 2020. And then after about a year, I was promoted to the apiary manager, and so I've been managing the beehives, just making sure that they're doing well. So I'll feed them when they need feed. I'll treat them for varroa mites, and then I'll also do hive inspections and then other management that's needed for the hives.
Nice.
So is that something you can tell how many bees are in a hive? Is that hard to put a number to?
I mean, you can kind of get
guesstimate?
You can get a rough estimate, but it
Okay.
can be like a full hive full of bees can be 30 to 40,000 bees.
30 to 40. Okay, so then how many do you think you have down at Lincoln?
I mean, so we have, and that's just bees in a hive.
Right.
We
How many hives then do you have?
Yeah, so we have about, of all of our locations, we have about 100 hives.
Really?
And then so
Okay.
about a third of our hives are at on East Campus, another third are at Kimmel Orchard, and then another third are for the research project near Meade, Nebraska.
Okay. Huh.
Do you think since you got involved in it in 2016, have you seen like an increase in interest in this whole thing?
I have. So there are more hobby beekeepers than there were before, but because a lot of commercial beekeepers have had just high losses in the state, a lot of commercial beekeepers have moved out of the state. And so we don't have as many large commercial beekeepers as we had in the past, but we have a lot more hobby beekeepers.
Do you think that's good for the whole system, or?
I mean, I think, ideally, I think we'd want to be able to bring the commercial beekeepers back into the state to just, making sure that they have, that they're not having the losses that they are. I think some of the issues I kind of think that may have contributed to that is just pesticides and things like that. But I think it is good that we do have a lot of hobby beekeepers. But as far as like helping the food system, we needed those commercial beekeepers.
That was going to be my question. Why did they move out, or what caused them?
Yeah.
And it's pesticides?
I think a good
think?
portion of it.
Okay.
Also, like lack of forage has also contributed to decline of honeybees, as well as these varroa mites. And so they actually, they're pretty much in every hive, and they actually vector diseases. One of the diseases they vector is called deformed wing virus that actually gives the bees deformed wings.
Oh.
And they also carry a bunch of other viruses that weaken the bees' immune systems. And so, and then you have to basically check for mites and treat for mites regularly if they get above threshold. And so if you get to where you're in the fall and getting ready for winter, if you haven't treated or checked for mites, they might have such high viral loads that there's nothing you can do with a treatment to do anything against the viral loads.
So it's too late.
Yeah. And so I'll actually get a lot of calls in the spring where beekeepers will be like, hey, I lost my hive. They had plenty of honey. What happened? And I usually ask them, when did you check and when did you treat for mites? And there's usually a gap there. And so a lot of people are realizing that they need to be more more on proactive
yeah.
on checking and treating for mites.
Gotcha.
Now, some people don't want to treat for mites, and there are other methods you can do to manage for mites. One of them is called brood breaking, to where you get the queen to stop laying eggs by either moving her or putting her in a cage for a little bit of time, to where she's not producing a new brood cycle to take a break so that the mites don't get in there.
Different methods.
Yeah, because the mites, they reproduce in the pupating cells of the bees. And so if you can, get a break there, that can help. Another way to manage for mites that's not to treat would be you can get what's called these drone brood frames that have larger cells. And so it encourages the queens to lay drone brood in these cells. And so the mites prefer these drone broods. And so once it's all capped, you can actually pull that frame and freeze it. And then it kills all the mites in the frame. And so it's a mechanical means to kill the mites. And so there's other means you can do to take care of the mites, but we do tell people, you don't necessarily have to treat for mites, but you still need to manage for them.
Got to do something, yeah. What's the, what would be your analysis of, like, the population? Because we keep hearing, that the populations are dwindling, and this is a major threat. Is that what's actually happening? Are things turning around, or what's the case with that?
Well, so currently, like the national average, and I'd say Nebraska is close to that, to where usually beekeepers are experiencing about 40% losses in the wintertime. But beekeepers do a really good job of basically, if your hive is doing well over the wintertime, you can generally split it in the spring to help manage for swarming. And so beekeepers do a really good job of making up for their losses by splitting their hives. And so that's one thing that helps the beekeepers, but we're still having losses.
We are, okay.
One of the things that I've heard is that people shouldn't maybe focus as much on honeybees and should focus more on native bees. And a lot of these native bees across the nation are on these endangered species lists. I don't know if that's the way to say that. And people are like, you don't need to worry about the honeybees because they'll always be around because people love their honey, and there are programs like what you're part of to do that. And on top of that, and I've read some doom and gloom stuff, there's always the doom and gloom, right?
Yeah.
Where the honeybees actually will what would you say, compete the native bees for natural resources, for this forage. Is there validity to that? Did I just get caught up in a scare piece, or what would your answer be to someone with that type of a concern?
Yeah, so we do hear of that. There's a lot of native plant people that like to dog on honeybees.
Yeah.
But the Bee Lab, we do both honeybees and native bees. My personal focus is honeybees. But our I guess our response to that would be, if you plant plenty of pollinator plants to offer plenty of forage, then they don't compete. And so we have some students doing research projects that have kind of shown that is the case with the native bees, to where if you have plenty of forage, then they're not having to compete. And so that's why we encourage people to plant more pollinator plants to provide more forage.
Well, he's in luck then, because we rotate our crops corn on corn on corn. So that should do it.
I don't know if that's going to work.
Hey, I don't think that works.
Giving it a bad time.
You better get back on that CRP program.
But no, where you went pheasant hunting up on our ground, for years and years and years, we always had hives on that field. And that had a lot of milkweed, that had a lot of blue switch type of grass, all sorts of stuff. So that was always, those hives were thriving, and they always were, and we always got really good honey off of them.
But you guys managed those, or they just were there?
There's a beekeeper in town
There
for
was.
years and years
Oh,
and
okay.
years and years, and they would box those crates up, and the majority of them would go down to Texas or California come winter time.
Huh.
Interesting topic.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you sitting down with us, Luke. Anything else you want to leave the folks with?
I guess so. The Nebraska Beekeepers Association, which I'm also a part of, we're actually doing a winter conference at the Education Center near Mead, Nebraska on Sunday, February 4th. And so they can go to our website for the Nebraska Beekeepers Association if they're interested in signing up. And I think the cost is pretty low as far as, just being able to go. And I think the Nebraska Beekeepers Association is a great program because they offer a youth scholarship to students that are between the ages of, I think, 14 and I can't remember if it's 16 or 18. But then essentially, they have to, do like a essay and then like a presentation and a poster and some other things. But the Nebraska Beekeepers Association then will buy them a beehive, bee equipment, and then pay for a class for them to learn beekeeping, just to help the beekeeping community retain people who are coming into learning beekeeping, just because the old time beekeepers are we're losing them, and so that way we can kind of get more people into the
new blood doing this.
Very
cool. Great.
What's the website for the Nebraska Beekeepers Association?
I think it's just essentially that, Nebraska Beekeepers Association.
Okay.
I think if they just do a internet search, it'll come up. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks again,
thanks, Luke.
Hope you have a good time
It's
out
great
here
to
today.
speak with you.
Yeah, thank you. This was
All right.
great.
Awesome.
We'll see you. All right, we're here with Beth Kearns-Krause. How's it going?
Very well. How are you?
Great.
Good.
Vaughn introduced us to you. First of all, let's start with who are you and what do you got going on here today?
Okay. I'm actually fifth generation Nebraskan, but I was here as part of a panel talking about direct marketing of animal products.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a fair amount of experience. I do have a small chicken and egg farm, but I have many, many years, close to 20 years experience with local foods, Nebraska, food cooperative especially.
Okay. When you just to touch on that real quick, when you say direct marketing of animal products, is that like, you mean like direct to consumer, like how you market direct to consumer? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Right. So three of the people on the panel, there were five of us on the panel, I guess four on the panel, have larger livestock, hogs or cattle. Mm-hmm. And so how they're marketing directly. My livestock, I can haul all of my livestock in the back of my vehicle if I want to. I do put them in like dog carriers, but don't need a separate trailer. But yeah, how do you do that? So if you're out there raising animals in a sustainable way, a healthy way, how do you make those connections with people that want those?
Right.
And you're not going through Cisco or, any other person. Now, the food cooperative is sort of that intermediary, that middleman, so to speak, but it is a cooperative of both producers, the growers, the ranchers, the gardeners, whatever, and the people who eat it. So both groups are members, and then so it's kind of a middleman, but it's more the transportation, ordering. How do you put the order together? How do you get paid? And that ordering platform.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. The Nebraska Food Cooperative. How long has that been around?
I got involved in 2008. It had already, I think it was order cycle 2 or 3 when I got involved with that. It actually started earlier than that, though, and came out of a Nebraska Sustainable Ag Society side conversation. Okay. Some people that were at a conference years and years ago decided that they wanted to try some of these things, and it was based largely on the Oklahoma food cooperative model. So there have been other food co-ops that do this. There's one up in Saskatchewan. I think it's Saskatchewan. Maybe it's Manitoba, but I think it's Saskatchewan that does it also. And where it's the same thing. The people that are invested in it, both the people that are making the food and the people that are eating food, come together to make it happen.
Interesting. So what's the, I think you've probably already said this, but maybe you should just lay it out. What is the goal of the Nebraska Food Cooperative? What's the whole idea behind it?
Well, it is to get healthy, sustainable, and really focusing on sustainable food produced by Nebraskans to Nebraskans.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can, live in Iowa or someplace else and order from there if you want.
Okay.
Order from us, but you're going to have to come and pick it up from, our pickup locations we have around various locations. We do have limits on the food needing to be grown in Nebraska.
Sure.
And a lot of that has to do with the federal regulations, because once you cross state lines,
Yeah.
now you have to deal with all the federal regulations.
Gotcha.
So it's not to say that we don't have any federal regulations, because of course we do. USDA has dictates on some of the meat products, some of the animal products, and those are applicable regardless.
Okay.
But there are some specific things that we don't have to deal with DOT, for
Sure.
example.
Yep. Transporting it.
Right, we don't have to deal with federal DOT.
Yeah. So one of the things you were talking about there that is another new thing I didn't realize. So there's actually the food cooperative has a location and is selling these locally raised items.
We do not have a physical location.
Okay.
We are an online platform.
Online, okay.
Yeah, so nebraskafood.org is the website.
Okay.
That's where we live. So my farm is named Albee Farm. And I list what I have available that I can sell through there. And then if you went on and you signed up, you're a member, or you can have a guest membership, and you ordered, and let's say you ordered a dozen eggs from me, you would see that under my name, because it doesn't say the Nebraska Food Cooperative product, it's Albee Farm product.
Okay. Yep.
So everything stays. You know exactly who the farmer is, or the producer, the baker, whatever
Sure.
it might be. We operate under whatever applicable regulations, whether it's the USDA. If you're buying a cut of meat, then that has to be USDA inspected. If you are going to purchase like a whole hog, then that is under custom. That's a custom exempt purchase. And then if there are just some other. If I were going to bake something, I have to operate, because I don't have an inspected kitchen, then I would operate under the cottage food law in Nebraska.
Okay. So is it one of the main goals of the organization is essentially to be like a marketplace for folks to be able to find producers and growers and farmers and whatever the case may be, bakers or whatever?
Right, exactly right. And if you think back to 2008, I mean, you guys are a lot younger than I am, but there was one farmer's market in Lincoln and one farmer's market in Omaha.
Okay.
And there may or may not have been a few others scattered around. Auburn may have had one. Nebraska City didn't. Several
Sure.
other places didn't. And now, during the growing season, there's at least one farmer's market every day in the metro area, in Omaha or Lincoln. And then Plattsmouth has a farmer's market, and Nebraska City has a farmer's market, and Syracuse has a farmer's market. And, Auburn for a while had two. And so, they're different days of the week because they don't want to all compete with each other, because their farmers are selling at Bellevue and they're at Nebraska City and different places. And so the entire local food landscape has changed in so many ways. And so then we've had to adapt too. A lot of what is sold on the Nebraska Food Co-op are animal products. That's not because we are intended to be that way, but right now there's very few places that you can find fresh lettuce in Nebraska. You can.
Sure. Right.
Nebraska Vegetable and Protein's one.
Yep.
But if you don't happen to live near a market that has theirs, where are you going to get it? And so that's someone Vaughn and I have been talking about, how we can get them into the Nebraska Food Cooperative. Just for example, and we have other things that are non-food items, but the vast majority are food.
So
what would those be?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
We have
For non-food.
soaps.
Oh, okay.
People that will make soaps. One of my sons, way back in the day, had an activity. He liked to make bath salts with his grandma, with my mom.
Okay.
And so they did their bath salts, and they had those available. My other son made the campfire starters. You know, you take you melt candles and you use your dryer lint or whatever,
Okay.
or sawdust. And so, in fact, I have somebody that's ordering that here on this current cycle of the food co-op.
Could this reach to like leather goods down the road?
It could.
I mean, I'm just going down the road here because to me this seems like it's still kind of new and it's kind of limitless. Do you see the co-op ever getting to a point where it could like support the town's grocery store? Would you ever want to get to that point?
That is something that we have thought about, and we've gone. Well, as the conditions have changed over the years, we have done some wholesale, and we do have wholesale customers.
Yeah.
No More Empty Pots is one. They get a lot of their grains that they use in from Grain Place, and so they order through us, and then we do that delivery. And we also do the invoicing. So they don't have, if they're ordering from Grain Place and they're ordering from a few other places, instead of having 5 invoices to take care of and 5 different deliveries to schedule and all of that, they know when we're going to be there, and they have one bill to pay.
That'd be so good for the charities, because that does where a lot of that gets lost is all the different branches that you got to navigate basically. To make it work.
Yeah.
To help further paint the picture, because when you were talking earlier, I'm thinking, okay, this is an online farmers market, is what it sounded like. So maybe that's a decent way for folks to understand. But then what you were just saying right there, so if someone does come to the co-op online and wants to buy something, all of the purchasing and everything goes through the cooperative rather than through the producer specifically, right?
Correct. They come through us. It always retains the farmer's identity.
Sure. Yep.
There's
Branding
nothing
and,
that I take that back. Maybe they buy a Nebraska Food Cooperative gift certificate.
Well,
I mean, on occasion there might be something that we sell that is ours.
Yeah.
But it's not any of these products. So, but yes, they're ordering through us, and then we have a small network of drivers that go out, and when our order cycle closes, and it'll close on like a Sunday evening, and then on Tuesday, the drivers are out picking up the orders.
Yep.
And so we have a small pickup route where farmers will come to meet the truck, put their items on the truck. Then they get together, the drivers get together and they sort, because, Linda picked up something that needs to go over here on Ron's.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then Wednesday, things go back out, or Tuesday evening and Wednesday, they go back out now to the delivery locations.
Yep.
Which may be a business. For example, the Nebraska Farmers Union has hosted a pickup site in Lincoln for years and years and years. Farm Bureau in Papillion has hosted a pickup site for years and years and years. And so then they go back out, and then each one of our members will volunteer to be the site coordinator. And so they make sure that the refrigerator and the freezer are plugged in and ready to go, and these are the hours when they're going to be there. They may be there personally, they may not. Each site develops their own kind of personality, and some of them, are very much, I will be there as the site coordinator and I will make sure everything gets distributed. Others are whatever works for them, because each site just develops what works for them. But the site coordinators then can take checks and then mail those in. So we can take credit cards, online payment through PayPal, but otherwise we don't take cash. That's just a headache.
It's tough,
Right. But we do take checks, because not everyone will be on online.
Right.
We'll do a digital payment. So
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, how many farms or businesses do you think that you guys have on?
As far as growers
Yeah,
or producers?
growers. Yeah.
Well, and it varies who's active and who's not, but 20, 30
Okay.
we can have. And we've had a wide variety. We've had people that have been active, and some kind of come and go.
Right.
Or some may be, we have one that sometimes may have some things listed, but then he has turkeys. Turkeys are available in November. So you can buy your turkey in November. Maybe there might be a turkey or two left over in December, but you're not going to buy a turkey this time of year.
Yeah.
They're done,
Okay.
and you're certainly not going to get one in July.
Right.
They're not old enough to
Yeah.
process yet.
So he's only active and on that
He may,
co-op
yeah, he may
towards the end of
have
the year.
other things,
Yeah.
Depending on
Yeah.
what other animals he has. Most people do not sell exclusively through the food co-op.
Sure.
They're also at their local farmers markets,
Yeah.
or like for us, we have restaurants. We have an Asian grocery store that we sell some quail eggs to. Like I said, restaurants or our own egg customers.
Yeah.
But then we have the food cooperative, and so that means that I can now sell eggs to somebody else that I wouldn't be able to get to otherwise.
Right. If someone wants to participate as a purchaser, what would they do? What would that look like?
You go on. You're going to have to join because we're going to need your information.
Sure.
We do have a guest membership, and that's $6. Okay, so whatever your total is, and we collect sales tax, that it'll apply sales tax as applicable. So like for the soap, you'll get taxed, but for the chicken, you won't.
Okay.
But then on top of all of that, then you have $6.
So there's a $6 fee per transaction as a guest.
Right.
That's
essentially.
it.
Yep.
That's
Wow.
it. Right. So
So it's like your shipping kind of.
right. What
like,
else are you
charge.
getting?
Yeah.
Your shipping for
Right.
$6.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Nowhere.
And you could be getting
Yeah.
something from Western Nebraska.
Yeah,
Wow.
good point.
Okay.
And I assume there's probably a more involved membership level that folks can do if they want.
Then we have a non-voting membership, and I think that's $40 a year. And then we have a voting membership where you purchase in at $100 the first year, and I think it's $20 to renew thereafter. But then if you are a very active volunteer, then we also do
Helps.
have some ways to waive some of that.
That's extremely affordable. I expected you to say much higher prices. So.
Oh yeah, I mean we are not a nonprofit, but we operate as if we were,
Sure.
and that has been challenging over the years because we don't have any
Sure.
reserve.
Yeah.
But we've always felt that we don't want to be a barrier for anyone to get to either sell or to buy these foods, and good local healthy food can be elitist. There is a large chain store that I don't use, and I've had a lot of people that have asked me because they're like, "This should be right up your alley. You're so crunchy," and I'm like, "No, because they made it elite."
Yeah.
And that completely undermines everything. Everybody has the right to this, I believe.
Well,
So,
Beth, it sounds like a cooperative. You're trying to cooperate with people.
call me crazy.
Okay. All right.
Hence the name.
We'll buy it for $1, I guess. We'll see.
So, like I said, we've not had a lot of margin, and therefore we've had to be very, very careful. Sometimes if we have a minimum amount that we need to just keep the trucks on the road.
Yeah.
And if we haven't hit that yet, sometimes we have to push that cycle out for another couple weeks, which can make it difficult if people are trying to buy vegetables or something that have a
Yeah.
limited window.
Yeah.
But if you're refilling your meats, or you can fill in some of these others, or maybe you're buying some cheese or something like that.
That can wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, we're not transporting fresh meat either. It's all frozen. So you're probably putting it in your freezer, and then you're just planning ahead.
Right. Yeah.
So,
That's something folks have to keep in mind, plan for it.
well, and now, some of us grew up by go to the freezer and see what you have and figure out what you want to have for supper.
Right.
Right.
And other people grew up with, what am I hungry for? Go find a recipe. What do I need?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a different way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So do you think what you guys are doing here in Nebraska, other states are doing?
There are some other states that are doing it. Like I said, we were based on the Oklahoma Food Cooperative model. They have since closed.
Oh.
But I think
okay.
a lot of that is just because as local food has become more accessible and more mainstream, there may not be a need for it in some of these places. Oklahoma, I think, was lucky because you think of Oklahoma, but where's their population? It's all right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You think of us, where's our population? Over
Eastern,
here.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of our growers are out here. So how are we going to make that happen? Somebody has to be on the road.
In
Okay.
order to get to
Right.
head west. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And we have some great producers across the way. You think of Grain Place, and it's a few hours to drive to Lincoln or Omaha. We have beef producers, and there was this wonderful mill that was in Juanita also, so down almost to McCook. And it was one of these multi-generational mills, but they had to close, and I keep hoping that they can get renovated and back. I don't know if they can.
So it sounds like from what you called a cycle, like one cycle to the next, you could go on there and discover something that wasn't there on the last one. Like it's always kind of like
Seasonality is
Very
a big thing.
seasonal.
seeing what's
Right.
available. Yeah.
Seasonality. And like I said, seasonality, when we go to the grocery store, we don't see seasonality.
Right.
But seasonality with animals is also a big thing.
Sure.
As a chicken farmer, a chicken tender.
Is that what you call it?
I like to call it that.
I like that. I've never heard that.
My husband does not like when I call him a chicken tender.
I think it's great.
I think it's but we are going to be getting some of our new chicks here in another month or 5 weeks maybe. They don't ship chicks like November, December, January, and they start shipping them in February. We don't incubate our own. Therefore, there is a certain seasonality to chickens. People who raise chickens for eggs know that they don't lay as much in the wintertime, and if you don't provide them supplementary light, sometimes they quit laying altogether. There's a really good reason for that. If you are a bird that evolved out in the wintertime, the worst time to have chicks is in the middle of the winter.
Sure. Yeah.
So you don't lay eggs.
Yeah.
Because if you're not laying eggs, you're not having chicks. So
We've absolutely talked about this before, and we talked about it with Vaughn a couple of weeks ago on the episode when we were talking about our food system and how spoiled we are because we can go to the grocery store at any time of the year and get all the same stuff all throughout the year. And we talked about the fact that might not necessarily be the most healthy way to go about it.
Right.
Like follow what is seasonal and what is local. And it seems to me like that's a little bit better formula. But with what you guys have going on, I think that as this word gets out, I can't imagine that you guys don't just absolutely explode.
That's one of those things that in my mind, I have to view it as I'm planting a garden because I put a seed out. We are inundated with so much information all of the time that we don't register most of it. We can't.
Yeah.
It's just a fire hose, and we just let most of it go past us. And so people don't hear it until they're ready to hear it. And then that seed, the seed starts to germinate.
Yeah.
And then, they work it in. And people that do Veganuary or World Carnivore Month or any of these ways of eating, it takes them a while, and they may or may not be successful. And changing our ways of eating is difficult. Changing our ways of purchasing is difficult.
Yeah.
And we are not as convenient as stopping by the grocery
Sure.
store
Yeah, that's
or
right.
driving
Yeah.
through
Yep.
McDonald's.
It takes a little more effort. And that word that you used right there, and Vaughn used the same word, is convenience.
Mm-hmm.
That's what has created these situations, is that
Absolutely.
it's so convenient.
Yeah.
And we need to do a little bit of work.
There's a lot of education. I grew up where we had a chicken lady that we would go and get chickens from every so often. And then we would put them in the freezer, and then we'd pull them out, and I learned how to cut up a chicken.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that don't know what to do with a whole chicken other than roast it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's just it. You grew up with the chicken lady, and
Mm-hmm.
that was your upbringing. And I run into the same stuff growing up on our small farm. Like, what do you mean you didn't have a chicken lady?
Yeah.
Everybody have a
I didn't have a chicken lady,
See?
guys. I hate to break it to you. We did get milk growing up.
You have
Oh.
a chicken lady now.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
Well, very cool. This is, I think this is great.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna be checking it out.
that's what I was like.
Yeah.
Can we, like, Ben? We're
Yeah,
gonna
we're
do
definitely
this.
gonna check
so
this out.
Look for our membership or something.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean,
Well, and I used to actually call all of the new members. I haven't done that for several years. I had to step back because I was spending all of my time on this to the detriment of other things.
yes, yeah.
But I used to call all new members. But you guys will have contact information. You can reach out to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there are
Fantastic.
ways, we need to make this happen, and it's a lot of work.
I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
It is a lot of work, and so because it's outside the norm. Whoops. The infrastructure is geared to industrial food,
Mm-hmm.
and we as a society are very, very good at maximizing efficiency.
Yeah.
But then what happens when that isn't working so well? Now we have to break that, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
It is.
Change
Yep.
is hard.
Yeah, I bet.
So nebraskafood.org. That's where folks can go to
That's
find
easy
you.
enough. Okay.
That's where we're going to be going.
We're jumping over there.
Yep.
Great.
Beth, God, this is good.
Yes.
Thanks. I love
Anything-
Thanks
talking
for the
about it.
information.
Yeah. Anything else you want to leave folks with, or?
Just learn how to cut up a chicken.
There we go.
Yeah.
And be a chicken tender.
We're down with that. Thank you so much, Beth. It's been fun.
Beth.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're with Lanny Nissen and Chris Bruning of AFI. That's correct, right?
Correct.
What's the what does AFI stand for?
Agricultural Innovative Flaming.
Innovative Flaming
Agricultural Flaming Innovation.
Innovation.
There you
Gotcha.
go.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
It was my guess. I guessed walking in here that you guys weren't AFI, the punk rock band from the early 2000s.
No, we are not a rock band.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. You look like you could be.
If so, you forgot your guitars and
Yeah,
all your equipment.
Forgot our
Gear.
instruments.
So, what does AFI do?
So AFI we are a R&D and manufacturing of flame weeding equipment for largely row crops in around the Midwest.
Yeah.
And we do have some customers on the coast for vegetable growers buy our smaller units.
So the idea is that folks have these implements behind or in front of their tractor that they're running through the field, and this is zapping weeds.
Well, we simply heat a weed up.
Okay.
Try to get it up to about 190 degrees for a tenth of a second. And that will make the water pressure inside the cells go up. And the cell wall will rupture, and then the plant will just sit there and evaporate and die.
Okay.
So we use the heat treating instead of chemicals to kill weeds.
You're
Right.
exploding them from the inside out. Is that
That's basically
you're,
it.
you're rupturing
Yeah.
the cells? Okay.
So it's a misnomer that you're not lighting a field on fire.
yeah.
It's more of a desiccation type. So cells explode from the boiling, and also proteins denature and the walls
yeah.
break down.
Wow.
So is this, help me understand, like give me a picture of when this thing's going through the field. Is it, you're set up in rows, and is it constantly, a flame constantly going, and you're
Yep,
kind of burning
correct.
up between the rows?
Right.
Think of a row crop cultivator.
Yep.
You got your steel sweeps going through the soil. Well, we have propane torches above the soil,
Okay.
in place of those sweeps. So the big thing with flame weeding is you can put that heat right in the crop row where you can't run a sweep.
Okay.
So your level of weed control can be, that much better in your organic production.
And what prevents the implement from doing damage to the cash crop?
You got to know what you're doing.
Okay, so there's just there's some technique to it.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of this was kind of born out of University of Nebraska research.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of a combination of equipment design and treatment timing.
Okay.
So we have hoods to keep the heat down and away from the crop.
Yep.
And timing, say, once the soybean plant is up in the unifoliate or those young leaf stages,
Yep.
you got to stay out
Okay.
because it is non-selective
Yep.
in its treatment.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you hear all these things with row crop farmers about the problems with traditional weed control and how the plants, become accustomed to that, and the weeds are more hardy and you can't kill them and these kinds of things. This is where something like this, a plant's not going to learn to not
It's
get overheated and die.
true. Yeah.
It's a little bit more of a long-term solution. Are you seeing usage from more conventional row crop farms, or is it primarily organic type setups?
It's primarily organic, a little bit conventional, but primarily organic.
Do you think that eventually it would get to the conventional level?
Possibly. We have to figure out how to do it quicker.
Okay.
Our time per acre is still low.
That's kind of the
So
current
it's
holdback.
kind of probably the biggest limitation.
Okay.
Because say a conventional farmer spraying herbicides has a very large boom.
Sure. Yep.
Say a self-propelled sprayer.
Yep.
They can do a lot of acres an hour.
And they're moving. Their ground speed's pretty good. What's the ground speed like with something like this?
3 to 5 miles an hour,
Okay.
typical.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the things that could drive it more to conventional is if they keep raising the price of chemicals.
Sure. Yeah.
They're getting real pricey.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're, we use maybe maximum 10 gallons an acre,
Okay.
but more common is 5 gallons an acre. So
Yeah.
you're talking $10 an acre.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a pretty good price point there.
Yeah.
Per
That
acre.
seems good to me.
It's
Yeah.
very competitive in that regard.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing this?
Well, Chris started as
I
a
started in
graduate
grad
student
school.
working
Okay.
on this.
Yeah. I was part of that research team at UNL.
Really?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
And my main advisor in mechanical engineering he's also a partner in AFI,
Okay.
George Gogos. The weed scientist, Steve Knezovic, he's a partner as well. And then a couple years into it, we realized we had no idea what we were doing on the manufacturing end. Brought
Okay.
in Lanny
Brought in the
Nissen
brains over
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Yeah.
So Lanny, is your specialty is in manufacturing?
That's where I spent most of my career,
Okay.
but a
Yep.
lot of that was in product development also.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So is this starting to spread now to other regions, or is this still kind of just in Nebraska and the Midwest?
well, it's mainly in the Midwest up till this point.
Okay.
Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois.
Yeah.
But a couple of weeks, we're going out to California. We have some people
Try some
that
stuff
are
out there.
interested.
Yeah.
We have sold some units to the world's largest garlic farm in California.
Yeah, Christopher Ranch.
Nice.
I like garlic.
Flame weeding garlic. Yep.
Wow. Good for you guys. That's
Yeah.
great.
It probably smells really good when they're going through the field too.
I bet.
Yeah.
So then
Kill the
where will
weeds
you
and
guys
roast the
go in
garlic.
California? Kind of like a convention like this? Or are you going to a farm?
We're going to the
Multiply it.
largest ag show in the U.S.
Really?
It's called the World
Ag Expo.
Exposition
Okay.
Wow.
in Tulare, California, which is in the middle of the orange groves and citrus groves.
Okay. So maybe you will have to bring your guitars and stuff to get people over.
Yep.
Like, I mean,
To fit in, yes.
right.
Probably.
Okay.
You don't want that.
Get a couple of rock band posters, and then no, we're not that AFI.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Wow. So I'm just thinking about on down the road to make it more commercialized. Can you make I don't know. I would think getting it hotter quicker would enable you to go faster. Is there any research and development going towards that, or is it more just being more efficient with what you have now?
So any hydrocarbon like propane, methane, gasoline, there's a max flame temperature.
Okay.
So you can't really do much with that. That's just physics.
That's where it is.
One technique would be to try to get the heat into water and use steam.
Oh, okay.
Because a phase change heat transfer is very quick relative to, say, just hot air passing over the weeds.
Okay.
But then you're talking more complexity in the equipment.
Right.
And
That's why you got Lanny here.
yes.
Yeah, that seems like way beyond my thinking. Like, wow. Good thing we have the brains here. So then the team, is there, you named a few people. Is there other people then helping too behind the scenes?
So that's kind of the interesting part. We're a pretty small group.
Okay.
Kind of bootstrapped it. So
Which I like.
It's that core group. And then we've partnered with contract manufacturers.
Okay.
Like our main ones in Lincoln, TMCO. Get our toolbars built out in Benedict, Nebraska. Electronics in Lincoln with CSS. So we bring all those parts together at TMCO. They have an assembly department and build our equipment for us.
Okay.
Nice.
Very good.
I mean, I can say for myself, we don't row crop farms, but we're in the industry with folks, and I feel like I'm hearing more and more about this over the last couple of years. I've seen videos, I've seen people playing around with these kinds of things, and it makes total sense to me. I mean, for myself personally, I absolutely think that we have a problem with the amount of chemicals that we're using, and also the control that exerts over farmers in terms of that they have no control of what the cost of this stuff is.
Right.
When it comes to chemicals, they're a slave to it. So something like this that kind of puts the control back in their hands, and then also there's obviously some positive benefits by not using those chemicals. I think it's genius. I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah.
I'm on board.
I mean, I'm not as in the ag. I mean, I'm in the ag arena, obviously, but they know more about it than me. So this is the first I've heard of this, and it's very interesting to me. Like, didn't even know that was a thing, just being honest.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
But when did you guys start?
AFI was originally established as an LLC in Nebraska 2009.
Okay. So I was just trying to think, how many years. Okay.
We built some demo units in 2012.
Okay.
And then went into production of actually selling equipment in 2014.
Wow, so it's still very new. Very.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we first started, we were selling mostly 2-row and 4-row units.
Okay.
These days, we're selling mostly 12 and 16-row.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I
There
think
we go.
a really nice testimony for us right now is we're selling a lot of units right now to people that we sold units to a couple of years
okay.
ago.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Oh, that's huge.
Repeat sales.
And they can't cover their farm, and they're buying another one. Actually, we have a farmer that's about to buy his third one, right?
Yeah.
Maskey?
Fourth
one.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's a huge testament to what you guys are doing.
Great endorsement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there other folks in the industry doing this kind of thing too? Like, do you guys have competition in this with this whole idea?
Lanny kind of jokes we're the only crazy ones enough to build flaming equipment and sell it to people. But,
I don't know.
There's a competitor down in Kansas, Flame Engineering.
Okay.
They've been around since the 50s. They have some of the original patents on the torches, but their technology kind of stayed in the 50s.
Okay.
And they haven't really improved it beyond that. So that's where we took the research, developed treatment recipes, improved the equipment.
I think any competition for you guys right now would be welcome because it would just expedite getting the word out, the awareness factor.
Yeah.
So, get a guy in Kansas building these things, get a guy in Missouri building these things. I think it would all just really help, and it would help as a whole.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
better look out, though. Elon Musk, he makes flamethrowers for fun. So if he catches wind of this, you guys might have Tesla working on.
Well, I know if Elon came knocking and wanted to buy,
I mean,
we got some
we're selling.
hey, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
We got some investments.
Where can folks learn more about you guys? Is there a website? Is there any kind of social media? Where would they go to?
Good.
We have a really good website. It's just simply Ag Flame.
Ag Flame. Okay.
Agflame.com.
Oh, that's easy. I like that. Okay.
And it's really educational. There's an awful lot of
Great.
information there.
Okay.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes on the episode as well, so folks can easily find that if they're listening right now and didn't write that down.
Yeah.
Really good.
Cool. And is that if people get interested in purchasing, is that where they would start and that how they would make contact with you guys?
Yeah, you can contact us through the website or info@agflame.com.
Okay.
Email.
Okay.
Cool.
Terrific.
Easy
Well,
enough.
Lanny, Chris, we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys. Lanny, we won't hold it against you that you're related to Vaughn.
We'll leave that out of the show notes.
We'll still publish this episode.
He deserves a break because of that.
Yeah.
He's a good one. We like him.
Oh yeah.
He's great. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for sitting down with us. Very interesting.
Yes,
We
very
appreciate it.
interesting.
Nice to meet you
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you.
All right.
All right, we're here with Emily Jacobson. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
For sure. Andy knows you a little bit, apparently.
Yeah, I saw your guys' banner when we walked in the room. Like, I wonder if Emily or Rod or somebody's over there that I worked with a few years ago.
Yeah, so sorry I didn't recognize you. You know, threw me off the loop.
Really took a shot to the ego here. Really.
Since we last saw you, actually, Rod retired, so
Okay.
he's now enjoying his life as a grandpa, traveling to sporting events throughout the state. And I took the role as the program manager for Nebraska Agribility.
All
So
right. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a fun change. I still do all of the client services within Nebraska Agribility and that, but obviously more managerial position came available, and just all the little extra details with that come and become involved. So. But let me go back and just kind of tell you guys what
For
Nebraska
sure.
Agribility is.
Please.
So we are a USDA NIFA-based grant, and NIFA is the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. So not your normal NIFA program that you would hear here in the state of Nebraska. Our grant comes from the very bottom line of the Farm Bill, and that grant is available for individuals in states that have basically an extension-based program and then a nonprofit. And those partnerships form together to create an agribility project. So here in Nebraska, our program partners are UNL Extension, and we have 3 county service agents that help with our program, and then Easter Seals Nebraska is our nonprofit partner.
Okay.
So that's kind of the lump sum of how we all come together. So I always tell people I have a ton of bosses that I have to answer to, which can make, all the gory paperwork details come together a little harder, but usually we all get it done. So
You become a pro at passing the buck. You're like, well, no, so-and-so said this. It's not my fault. It's his fault. I know the guy over there.
I'm pretty sure that's his job, not mine.
yeah.
Exactly.
Not my job.
But it all comes together, and so the main portion of what agribility is serving farmers and ranchers that have a disability or a disabling health condition. And our goal is to find them farm technology so that they can overcome those limitations they're experiencing so they can keep farming and ranching. So when we worked with News Channel Nebraska in the past, they did some videos for us, and one was of a young farmer with a spinal cord injury. And after his accident, he thought his life was over. He thought he was going to have to give it up, and that is what he's wanted to do since he was 7 years old. He carried a pliers everywhere. And
You want to be a cattleman.
Right, didn't want to take his boots off for school and put on tennis shoes and things like that. And so when we met him at Madonna and told him about some of the assistive technology that was potentially available for him, he was like, what? I can keep doing this? And so Agribility worked with Nebraska Vocational Rehabilitation to fund a lot of the assistive technology that we recommend. And we came together and was able to get that gentleman a specialty lift on the back of his pickup. So
cool.
it'll put him into the combine,
Wow.
the tractor, gets him in his feed truck. It gets him on his horses because their operation is primarily a horse-based operation. So he has a specialty saddle that's a paraplegic saddle, and then with this lift allows him to get on the horse and do the work that he needs to do
That's
on the
crazy.
horse. So it's really amazing, some of the equipment that's available. And that's my job, is to find that equipment, to know about those things, so that when I do go out on those farm visits or ranch visits, we can tell those farmers and ranchers about that equipment and then help to gather that for them and put it all together in a report form to send off to whichever vocational rehabilitation office they're working with, and hopefully get those things funded for them, because after an injury or an illness, we all know that medical bills pile up, and so if we can take some of that away from them and help them to be sustainable and just grow as a farmer or rancher, that's what we want to do and hope to do in a good fashion. So
Very cool.
And that young man, he is a joy to be around. I mean, he is a spark plug, right?
He is. He absolutely is. You know, and I always say that he's so lucky that he has a wonderful system around him. His whole family was very supportive from his accident. Like, at that point, his grandpa was like, we'll find a way to keep you involved in our family operation. Like, don't worry, we're going to figure something out. And I think grandpa would have hung the moon and the stars to find him something if our program wouldn't have been available. But if you ever meet the whole family as a whole, like everyone's so involved and they're all like, oh no, we can do this. And we're just grateful that they reached out to us and that we were able to help him out and just continue to keep in touch. He's one of our biggest advocates for our program. So.
Wow.
Do you guys specifically work within Nebraska then?
Yeah, so we are only a Nebraska-based program. Outside of Nebraska, let's see, Missouri has a program, Iowa has an affiliate program, Colorado has a program, South Dakota has a program, and Wyoming has an affiliate program. And so I say affiliate because they don't get the national grant dollars like the rest of us. They have some state-supported funds for them to operate their programs.
Okay. So how do you find these families that actually need you? I mean,
that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Michelle, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Common Folk Podcast.
There you go. A lot of it is doing shows like this to get the word out, but also we rely a lot on word of mouth from our past clients. You know, hey, maybe you should reach out, call them, see if they can help you. It's one phone call, and the worst we can do is say, that's not going to work out for you. Because to be an AgriAbility client, obviously there is that option of you have to have a medical-based disability or disabling health condition, but also we require them to have income from agriculture. So here in the state, that pretty much is, you know, our typical corn, soybeans, cattle operations. We see some hog farmers. Out west, we have some sugar beet farmers and stuff. We are seeing more farmer veterans come into our program, which is wonderful, and we're really hoping that from this Sustainable Agricultural Conference that we can get some more small-scale farmers as well, because we know that they're having issues as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the need been like? You know, give us an idea of how many folks you work with, or how often does this come up?
So since we have been in Nebraska since 1995. And in that time period, we have served a little over 650 farmers and ranchers, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
But we also have to think about as a whole that due to some CDC stats and some just in general agricultural stats, there's probably over 10,000 farmers and ranchers in the state that have some type of disabling injury or a disability. And so really it's getting them to find us, or having the hope that some of these other programs take our information as well. If they see someone come across their desk and say, hey, reach out to them, see if they can help you. So actually I just did all my 2023 statistics, so I kind of know those numbers, but we served over 50 individuals in 2023. And whether that looks like new clients or past continuing clients, and some were just more or less, hey, gathering information in hopes that someone in their town or something like that would refer to them. And so we count all of that as a touch in some way, shape, or form, and we love that. So
based on the funding that you guys receive and so on and so forth, is there like a limit to how many people you can help, or I guess maybe what those dollars
not
would
necessarily.
come to?
Vocational rehabilitation is based out of per counties, so different counties serve different farmers and ranchers, and every farmer rancher case is different, so none of them get the same amount necessarily. It's more or less based upon the need, and our reports generate back to what are going to be the main pieces of assistive technology that's going to give them the most assistance, what's going to help them overcome those limitations the most. And so we really try to put those items like higher up on their list. Sometimes more severe cases like spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries, those cases we usually do probably 2 or 3 reports with, just so we can get a full overview. We start with some of the bigger pieces that we know is going to make a difference right away, and then work our way down that scale. So I know just from dollar-wise that were served through vocational rehabilitation, and I think we covered almost 7 clients through the vocational rehabilitation system. A little over $250,000 of assistive technology went out that way. In the last few years, we've noticed the need for more assistive technology, and so we actually created a legislative bill and have been working with state legislature in the last 2 years, so we've gotten some funding that way for assistive technology only, and we were able to fund almost 9 clients this last year with that money, and it was a little over $285,000. So there's a lot of assistive technology available and out there, but unfortunately a lot of it's just very spendy. It comes with a price dollar. So trying to best use our resources and find available programs that can assist with that, or even some clients have other means. We do sometimes utilize local community funds to help those individuals as well. So
and just to kind of paint a picture, every case is a little different, and I was part of 2 stories, getting to tell 2 stories, and one young man was kind of a cattle man, and he needed just some to operate the cattle chute, so kind of put it all on hydraulics and levers that he could access.
Absolutely,
And so like he didn't skip a beat, just like when we're working cattle and you got the chute that you got to open and close it on the cow, he could do that with his disability just fine.
Absolutely. So like we say, here in the last year, actually, we've actually created some assistive technology handouts, and one is more of a low-tech technology handout, and one is a high-tech technology handout, and they're kind of just a breakdown of some of the equipment we use. And so sometimes it's just as easy as extra tractor steps and a handrail for individuals that are having shoulder injuries or knee injuries, to get that step lower down to the ground for them to get up and in and out of. And so that's a little more of a low cost option. Sometimes it's things like grain bin steps, like instead of having to climb your old standard grain bin ladder, which is fairly scary normally, recommending a circular staircase that goes around the grain bin, so that for their mobility issues, they can easily access and see what's happening inside that grain, because we all know that if something bad happens, that grain market's going to go downhill if your corn gets too moldy or it gets wet, or so that they can still analyze those things.
I think this is a great piece, because this helps paint the picture for me on what kind of things you guys are offering, and what folks should be contacting you. When I see something on here like adding wheels to a gate, like that seems so simple, but totally makes sense.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of these small things that can totally come in handy.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be a crane on the back of a flatbed truck.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like anti-vibration gloves are huge. How many times when you're holding like a battery-powered operated tool that you're just getting so much shake, and if you have arthritis or carpal tunnel, that shake really takes it out of your whole body. So those gloves, a cheap piece of equipment, technically can help you overcome that limitation and make you be able to do that task a little bit longer. Because we all know that if you're not being able to complete a task, you're not getting paid in any way, shape, or form. Then if you're having to sit at home.
Yeah.
There's probably not really an age then, I guess, to this, but you probably aren't helping a ton of young children, right? I mean, obviously they're not working on the farm yet.
Correct. So usually typical 18-year-old, I think, is probably the youngest we've ever seen.
Right.
However, we have helped some local extension groups with youth in their 4-H groups that have disabilities that have helped them come up with ideas on how to shoot a gun for shooting classes. We've done some modifications for a young gentleman in a power chair so that he could lead his 4-H calf.
Oh, great.
And things like that. And so we have, and that's where a lot of that community foundation money has come from. Like those communities also want to set those kids up for success. And so we're so lucky here in the state of Nebraska that those community foundations are available.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah,
So-
I really didn't know any of this was going on.
Yeah, we gotta get the website out there, don't we?
That's what I was going to say. So to kind of bring it together, recap for us, if folks are thinking, should I contact these people or not, what kind of things should they be thinking about, and then where to find you guys?
Absolutely. So if anyone in your community is has had an injury, or I wouldn't even say necessarily an injury, maybe they've had a stroke or a heart attack and they're just not able to do the work on their farming or ranching operation anymore, that would qualify them for our program as long as they, again, have that income from agriculture. And they can reach out to us by either calling us or visiting our website. And the best number to call at AgriBility is 1-800-471-6425. And that'll take you directly to my office, and I'll get you in touch with all the things that you need. We'll do some initial intake and just grab some information from you right away. But if you wanted to do it, you prefer to do things online, on our website at agribility.unl.edu, there is a form on there that you can fill out to ask, and it generates back to my office, and we'll send you more information that way as well. But also, I think it's important to note that on our website are all these resources. So these AT handouts that I showed you are on our website. They're also our stretching brochure. I love a good stretch, but these are great. They are for men sitting in tractors to stretch throughout the day. So
look at that.
We see a lot of times farmers and ranchers, they got to get the job done, so they don't want to quit. So while they're driving their tractor, these are easy to do, and it keeps preventative maintenance. So it also keeps away with some of those blood clots and things like that maybe some people have issues with. So
I think as far as farming and ranching goes, and those jobs in general, they're very accident prone. Things happen all the time. Like I'm thinking of something as simple as someone tears something in their shoulder. And now they can no longer pick this up, or like you showed, move that gate or whatever. These are the kind of folks that maybe even as simple as that, that you guys are helping with.
Absolutely.
I think we tend to think about the big accidents and issues and stuff, but there's a lot of these small ones too that have made it very restrictive for people to get the job done.
Yes, absolutely. And like we said, inside our main brochure, it says we'll see back injuries, arthritis, mental health issues. And so little things like that you wouldn't think of necessarily as being debilitating or anything like that. Those things can make a big difference with little pieces of assistive technology to overcome those limitations.
My brain's going to something real quick about, I just see farmers sometimes just being too prideful maybe to ask for help. Do you guys see that? Not prideful, what is it?
It is. A lot of it's proud. I will say that I talk to a lot of wives, daughters, mothers
I would think
prior to ever talking
I think
to.
I would be calling too. I'm wondering if that, yes. Okay.
So we do, we do the big Women in Ag conference here in Nebraska,
Okay.
and as well as the Ag Exceptional one up in Northeast Nebraska, and those generate a lot of referrals for us, because it is talking to those wives and mothers, daughters first. A lot of times I say I get all their information and I never meet the farmer until I go out on the visit. I've never had contact with them directly until we get out there
because
to
I
go
bet the
over
farmers
everything.
I still don't need their help as you're pulling up.
Yep. And so my thing is never be too proud to ask.
Okay.
Even if it's just you're looking for resources, maybe you don't want us to come out for a visit, but if you want to talk about pieces of equipment and you want someone to run it by to see if I potentially think it could work for you, we can absolutely do that as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I just was thinking. There's got to be some guys that are not phoning you up. It's got to be the wives or the kids.
Oh, probably.
You guys got to take care of
I'm
us.
just talking from
from experience.
Yeah.
So let me reiterate the website, because when I hear your guys' name, I think of it spelled completely different than what this actually is. So it's agrability.unl.edu. Because I always think everything you hear in ag, especially in that, it's like AGRI or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's no I, AGR, and then ability.unl.edu. So that's where folks can find you. Very cool what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
Good to see you again,
yeah,
Emily.
you too.
Yeah,
you
I'm
too.
oh, I know her.
Sorry.
It's nice
threw
to
me
meet
off.
you.
It is nice to meet you guys as well.
Thanks so
Thanks
much.
for what
stopping
you're
by.
doing. Yeah.
All right, Emily. Well, we'll shut. Anything else, guys? No? All right.
Thank
shut down.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya. All right. So episode 1 of the local Food and Healthy Farms Conference.
We are getting into it. We are getting some great interviews here.
Yeah, man.
How are we getting so lucky? Who do we think?
Our buddy Vaughn.
Hey,
Yes.
V Daddy.
man. Yeah.
Is that no? That's not what he wanted to go
No,
by.
it goes by the Von Father.
No, he does go by V Daddy. We wanted to say Von Father, but
The Nebraska Sustainable Ag Society that he's a part of. So obviously putting this on. So episode 1, we did a lot of interviews.
Yep.
15 to 20, someone a little bit longer, but all pieced together, obviously, on this episode that you just listened to. And we got a number of interviews that we wanted to continue on, so there'll be at least a second episode
Yep, we'll line those up and we'll bring those out here in about a week or so.
coming up the following week. Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So cool. It was fun. Hopefully folks enjoyed that. There's a lot more coming. It's great, really great info, great little snippets that I think will turn into some bigger interviews for us.
It's just amazing. Every time we meet all these people, hear all these stories, stuff happening next door that you didn't have a clue was going on.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
Common folk just doing cool stuff.
There you go.
That's
All right.
it.
Well, we'll shut it down.
All right. Peace.
All right. See you.